Hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. So for today's video, I have more Dollar Tree DIY fall decor. These are all brand new, so I really hope that you enjoy them. Today's video is sponsored by Cricut. A big thank you to them. They've been so supportive with my channel lately. And if you haven't already, please make sure to hit that subscribe button because once you hit subscribe, we instantly become best friends.
Did we just become best friends? Yup!
And please go ahead and hit that notification bell. Make sure you set them to all. YouTube may or may not let you know when I post a video, but just in case they don't, follow me on Instagram, and let's go ahead and get started. So for the first one, I'm going to use this sign from Dollar Tree. Dollar Tree has a ton of signs. I'm using a summer one because I'm just trying to get rid of old signs, and I really like the shape of this one, but I'm 100% positive that they have fall themed ones. I'm going to grab a sanding sponge from Dollar Tree and sand that all off, and then I'm going to grab some chalk paint and a brush, and I'm going to do both sides. You can make this a double-sided sign or a single-sided sign. Once it's completely dry, you can go ahead and start drawing. I drew a really simple pumpkin, but if you are not artistic at all and are intimidated by this, then I totally understand. You do have a few options. You can print out a design, cover the back with chalk, and then trace it. That'll give you a really nice transfer. Or you can do what I'm doing and use a Cricut. I'm using a Cricut Maker 3 and Smart Vinyl. If you know me and you've been on my channel long enough, then you know that I like to reuse my stuff. So right now I'm using removable vinyl because whenever I want to remake my sign, it's just a lot easier for me to remove the vinyl and then cut out something new with my Cricut. Y'all, I gotta be honest with you, I kept this footage in of me putting transfer tape because it was way too satisfying. I'm usually a hot mess when it comes to transferring stuff, so the fact that this was so smooth, look at this, just look at this, so satisfying. By the way, you can reuse your transfer tape, so go ahead and save it if you did have a pretty smooth removal like I did. I'm also gonna use these picks from Dollar Tree. I fell in love with them when I saw them, and I'm gonna cut them down. This is why I added my stencil so low, because I knew that I would be adding floral to the top and I didn't want my words covered. So right here at the top, I felt like it was missing something. I found this ribbon at Dollar Tree and made a tiny little bow. A bigger one would have taken over the whole thing, and I think this looks perfectly balanced. For this next one, I'm going to be using a ready board from Dollar Tree. They have these all year round, especially now that it's back to school season. I'm going to cut this down, and what I'm going to do is I am going to use one of the Dollar Tree floor mats. These have been done 1,000 times. This is nothing new. I believe Olivia's Romantic Home has done this, and just recently Araceli Chan made something really cool with these. I will link it when we're closer to the end. I am doing just the basic, which I kind of regret not just cutting out the truck itself because I really don't like the color of the rug. By the way, if you wanted to use this for your patio or porch, you can skip putting this on a ready board and just make a border for it out of wood. And since this is a doormat, it'll be perfectly fine in crazy weather. For the border, you have a few options. You can go ahead and do a square dowel. I got this from Lowe's, or you can use a Tumbling Tower Games. Here's a close-up of the square dowel. I like using this because it ends up being a lot cheaper than buying a few boxes of the Jenga. I will link this mini saw below. It's going to be in my bio. I always get asked questions. It's one of my favorite things ever. And these square dowels fit perfectly on this. So now I'm going to hot glue it to the edge. If you're skipping the ready board, then what you're going to do is you're going to use wood glue, put the frame together, and then you're going to want to glue your mat to that. I'm constantly remeasuring so that I have the right dimensions and this looks decent. And of course I'm using my mini saw. This is the DIY that I was talking about that Araceli Chan did. It's the same sign, only she added lights and this really cool basket. You should check it out. The link to her video will be in my bio. She has a ton of really cute stuff. Ah yes, my famous pumpkin. If you haven't been on this channel long enough, then I have been doing pumpkin makeovers since 2018. And I will always put this on a skewer, and I will always use a foam brush because it gets into all of the nooks and crannies. However, I heard that this year Dollar Tree has white pumpkins, so hopefully that means that y'all do not have to watch me paint pumpkins white any longer. We'll see, because I haven't found them yet. So these are the famous pumpkins that I was talking about. I will link this in my bio. These are only some of the ones that I've created. I do have random pumpkins that I've put in other videos, and those you'll find in my fall playlist. But these two videos are definitely the most popular ones, so if you want to watch them, they'll be linked in my bio. Y'all are probably tired of hearing me say this, but if you are doing a few coats, make sure that you are wrapping your brush or foam brush with some sort of bag and putting it in the refrigerator. It'll stay nice and moist. For the stems, I use air dry modeling clay. Dollar Tree has air dry modeling clay, but I do not love it. So I splurge a little and buy a brand that I like. And then I roll it into a ball, into a cigar shape, and then try my best to make a pumpkin stem. I do a lot of the modeling on the pumpkin itself so that it fits nicely afterwards. So this is where the magic happens. Dollar Tree has these beautiful scarves this year, and this was inspired by these pumpkins that I bought on clearance at Home Goods last year. I should have inserted a picture. Maybe I can still edit it in, but these pumpkins were stuffed and they had this beautiful fabric and these really intricate stems. Super pretty. If I don't post it here, then I will post it on my Instagram story. I don't know. But I'm cutting around and then I am taking the excess fabric and shoving it to where the stem was. If there are any areas that kind of stick out, I'm using my glue gun to fold them in. This isn't gonna look perfect, and that's perfectly fine. I wanted this to look like a stuffed pumpkin. I'm doing my best to make it the pumpkin shape, but we're really gonna outline it at the end with some rope, well, twine. For small areas that are poking out, I'm hot gluing and then I'm pushing it in with my brush. Now I'm going to take some twine and do the exact same thing. I'm going to shove it where the stem is supposed to go, and then I'm going to wrap it around and shove the other end in. I'm going to work my way around, and I did 2 layers so you can really see it. Otherwise, it disappears into the pattern unless you're using a much lighter pattern, which on my other one, you'll see you can definitely see the twine. Hot glue your stem down. You can use whatever glue you want if you want a more permanent hold. As you can tell, I reuse these stems basically every year. So I'm using my stems, and look how beautiful this looks. For this next one, you can use a plank of wood, one of these signs from Dollar Tree, stir sticks, but I am using 2 of these little crates from the Crafter's Square section and flipping them over. I'm going to make sort of a hidden compartment type thing, and I'm going to attach them using wood glue. Dollar Tree has the Super Glue brand, and make sure that you are not being too heavy-handed. I just add in the middle because it is going to spread, and then I use a clamp to hold it in place. While that is drying, I'm using these push pins that are from Dollar Tree, and I'm gonna give it a coat of spray paint. You can keep them dark as well, whatever you like. They also come in pastel shades, so if that fits what you want, then use those. Now that this is completely dry, I'm going to go ahead and add my little push pins. My plan for this was to put this on a mantle, but I don't have a mantle. I have wanted to make this since last fall, and I already knew I was pregnant. I found my initial, my husband's, and my baby, but I didn't find an extra A for my older daughter. So this year I finally found an extra A, so that's what I'm going to be using. I'm hot gluing these in place so that they don't move around. And underneath this, you can hide some snacks, you can hide some money, you can hide whatever you want. Now I'm just figuring out how to arrange them because these come in different sizes. I actually got really lucky finding the A in the same shade because they're totally different this year. Okay, that line in the middle is really bothering me, so I just pulled some greenery off of a fake plant that I have, and I just added it there so you can see it a little less. I didn't want to add too much because then it would look crazy, but at least now you can kind of disguise it, and look how cute. Okay, don't kill me. The sock pumpkin that I made last year, I was a little tired of it, so I removed the sock and I decided to reuse that pumpkin. The other ones are a little too hard for what I wanted, so I reused this one because I'm able to remove some of the foam on the inside. I'm going to use this beautiful wasabi color and I'm going to paint it. Usually when I'm using pumpkins, I do the whole skewer thing, but I used a popsicle stick and man, let me tell you, so much easier. You have so much more control. I should have been doing this all along. Now it looks really cute as is, but I did want to add some dimension, so I'm going to use watered down brown paint, you know, my fave, and I'm just going to start adding it in the creases. Because this is really watery, it's going to look a little funky at first, but with my fingers, I smoothed it out and it looks pretty good. At first, this is definitely a trust the process type of thing. It looks really intimidating, but once you rub it in and give it some TLC, it looks amazing. I did the same thing to a white pumpkin as well because I want this to be a double layered craft, which you'll see in a second. It could totally be a single layered one as well. With my brush, I'm starting to add those pumpkin freckles, make them look all cute. I didn't do this to the white one, I just did this to the green. I feel like the white one would have looked a little funky. And I'm gonna let it dry completely. Now, once it is completely dry, I use this LED candle. Do not use a real candle. I hot glued it in place, but you can still remove it. Now you can use it as a single layer or a double, whatever your heart desires. Okay, this is footage that you see on my channel over and over again. I have been doing these hula hoop foam wreaths forever. I started during Christmas last year and I haven't stopped because I feel like it is the coolest way to get a giant wreath out of Dollar Tree stuff. I normally see people use just pool noodle, but I feel like that eventually starts to sag, so doing this keeps a really nice round shape. I'm going to tape that, and yes, I'm using orange tape because that's all I had when I put this together. And for this, I used 2 pool noodles. Depending on the size of the hula hoop is what determines how much pool noodle you're going to be using, but I feel like even with the large one, 2 will do just fine. This is the original one that I created last Christmas. If you want to watch it, I will link it below because I know a lot of people are already Christmas crafting, and it is one of my favorite wreaths that I've made on this channel. If you're thinking summer's over, I'm not gonna find a pool noodle, absolutely wrong. Dollar Tree has caught on that pool noodles are a big time seller. So now they have them for holidays because they know people are crafting. Right now it's easier to find red and green because that's what they keep around for Christmas. Speaking of Christmas, I am using greenery that I got on clearance because buying a ton of greenery from Dollar Tree is just not worth it. I think I got this for like $5 and I'm using 2 of them. I tried using a staple gun, that was a no-go. So I'm just using those little pipe cleaners from Dollar Tree and wrapping that at the bottom. I really should have used a green pool noodle, but you live and you learn. So I'm gonna keep it real with y'all. I mention this in every video. I really like mixing Dollar Tree stuff with things from other stores. I think that's what really gives it a this isn't from Dollar Store look. A lot of times the reason that I do it is not so that it doesn't look like Dollar Tree, but because sometimes Dollar Tree isn't the cheaper option. These florals are beautiful, but they're really skimpy, so I'm cutting them into tiny little pieces to try and fill this wreath. Because so much greenery is showing, I was scared that this was gonna look more like a Christmas wreath than a fall wreath. And if I had bought more of those orangey flowers, then this would have been way more expensive than I would have wanted it to. These are only 2, so I'm really making this stretch. And now I'm gonna use some Dollar Tree pumpkins. Instead of gluing them down, I always like to reuse them. So I'm gonna use some toothpicks and put them in at an angle. You don't really wanna do this because it's going to crash with the hula hoop. You want to put it in an angle and insert it on the side. I tried my best to get this as even looking as possible, so I tried to space them out like a clock. I used 6 white and 6 of the gold. So 1 on top, 1 at the bottom, and then alternating sides so that it looks pretty even. Is it going to look even? Probably not. Right now, I'm still not loving the greenery, but I do have a bunch of floral. This is what it looks like. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. And you can always take off all of this stuff and transition this into a Christmas wreath. If you like this wreath, you should definitely check out the one that I made previous to this. I'll link it at the end of this video right here. I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and as usual, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you so much, and I'll see you on the next one.